Welcome back to the Warcraft news. There's a lot to talk about. We've been bombarded with release dates. Season 4 is actually off to a stronger start than we imagined per some numbers, which is kind of crazy, and we've got a wave of finds and discoveries from Alpha and all that good stuff to talk about. First though, well, let's talk about the dates. Darkheart 10.2.7 releases on the 7th of May, and this is pretty major. It marks our first ever proper expansion prologue, so we're going to find out exactly what xal'atath does to kick off the events of the War Within. Does she try to awaken Azeroth with some void magic? Does she launch an assault on us? What does she get up to? We don't know. Well, we know what some quests are called from data mining, but beyond that, it's all properly a surprise, though from our time in the alpha, I will just say that next time we see her, we'll be out for blood. That is, unless we can first distract her with an incredible web design from today's sponsor. Squarespace, the online site builder with killer templates, tools, and features to get your web presence started right. And if you go to squarespace.com/Bellular Gaming, or you just click that link below, you'll be able to start a free trial and then use my code Bellular Gaming to get 10% off your first site or domain. Now, last time we talked about the features like Blueprint and Fluid Engine that help you make a killer site. Today, we're going to talk about how Squarespace can support your business needs. So, are you doing a store of any form? Is it physical? Is it digital goods? They will support you. They also even handle services, meaning they can help you manage things like invoices as well. So not only on Squarespace do you get a brilliant experience for your customers with the site, but also flexible payment options like credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay, and in eligible countries, buy now, pay later methods like Afterpay and ClearPay. And then to help you optimize your business and understand the numbers that are driving everything, their analytics give you top traffic sources. They help you understand your reach, where your traffic's coming from, your sales data, and learn, of course, via all of that, how to focus your efforts. It's wild how much they support, even things like reservations, takeout and delivery food. And if your business has social media, which it should, throw in a Squarespace bio site to give your customers a great experience. So, for all of that and a whole load more, go to squarespace.com/Bellular Gaming or click the link below to start your free trial and get 10% off your first purchase of a site or domain with code Bellular Gaming. And returning to the news, 10.2.7 also brings Troll and Draenei Heritage Armor quests, the shiny new Hunter Stable UI, a much better pre-made group finder, and a few other tidbits, like an extra 5 characters on your account, bringing the maximum to 65, which you're absolutely going to need, because we have got to talk about Mists of Pandaria Remix. So, 10.2.7 will launch, and a week after that, probably the most hyped thing to happen to WoW in a long time will happen, and that is Mop Remix. Our testing on PTR during the test weekend was just a cracked amount of fun. It was great. So yeah, I'm over the moon. A lot of people are over the moon, and this will be getting a global release May 16th. Blizzard also recently confirmed that time-running characters will be able to do Heritage Armor quests, so if you, like me, have missed out on a whole bunch of Heritage Armors, well, this will be a great way to level up characters of loads of different races. You can check out our video for an idea of all of the stuff with Mop Remix, for an idea of how it plays, but basically, if you like WoW when it gets crazy, if you want to get flooded with gear, rewards, hyperspeed leveling, and loads of crazy new powers to play around with, Mop Remix is brilliant. Mop itself is a beautiful expansion, and experiencing it with a whole new array of crazy effects is a hell of a ride. With the Heritage Armor, there is a mild downside though, and that's that you can only do the Heritage Armor quest after your character has left time running, and that's only possible once the event itself has ended. Reward-wise though, there's some other crazy news. The Tusks of Manaroth have been data mined, and they might be earnable via repeated Garrosh kills on normal and above. So this is an amazing looking item. It normally has a 0.3% drop chance, so it's quite the endeavor. And to be clear, we do not know if this will be there or how it will work exactly, but per Wowhead's data mining, there is a cosmetic version of the Tusks that's been added to the game files, and a Bones of Manaroth item with the tooltip earned by defeating Garrosh Hellscream on normal or greater difficulty in Siege Wargrimmar. So, who knows, maybe as you get more Bones of Manaroth, maybe you can turn that into a Tusks of Manaroth eventually? I'm not exactly sure, but, well, it's going to be pretty damn fun. Personally, I just really can't wait to go into Throne of Thunder Heroic with my friends. It is one of the best raids they've put together, and to be able to do that again is honestly just kind of incredible. I'm very excited for this event. Now, we've got about 3 weeks to get our Season 4 goals out of the way before MoP Remix starts. And there's also some other good news, actually. I know there's been a lot of concerns about the event being time limited, especially given all the different items that you can farm. What I can say is that based on the calendar that is in-game on the alpha, this event will end August 20th, and then obviously per what Blizzard announced, it will run starting May 16th, which also matches up with the start time on the alpha calendar. So basically from May 16th to August 20th, perhaps pre-patch will just happen around that time, maybe the War Within like a month after. So, pretty cool. But there is some sad Blizzard news, and that is there will be no BlizzCon in 2024. They said that they do have plans to share updates in games at other shows like Gamescom, and that they are working on multiple global in-person events for the 30th anniversary of the Warcraft franchise, which is interesting. I wonder what that could be, but basically, no big BlizzCon, but more smaller BlizzCon-like gatherings probably at other shows. To me, this does make sense. BlizzCon is expensive and time-consuming to run. It only really makes sense to do if you've got a lot to show off, which, being real, they probably wouldn't for the next one, right? I mean, for the most part, their games are just trucking along while they're spinning up some new projects. There was one we mentioned in last week's news, but if you think about it, for WoW's immediate future, well, we kind of know what's up there. For Hearthstone, Overwatch, and Diablo, they're mostly just on the seasonal grind. And the other factor is the layoffs, because the layoffs hit non-core development teams especially hard, and a lot of those teams, well, are the ones that would have been putting BlizzCon together. There is a bit of a silver lining, though, in the Blizzard's post does say that they want to host a BlizzCon in future years, so they say they want to do more. Hopefully that will happen. I'll say, like, personally, I am disappointed. I had an absolute blast at the last BlizzCon, mostly from a sort of social and experiential perspective. The actual con itself, it was good effort. It did have a few flaws, though. Yeah, people trying to get into the Dark Moon Fair. In fact, the Dark Moon Fair was such a shit show that Dan Olsen over at Folding Ideas, he just did a video about the Dark Moon Fair at BlizzCon 2023, so that was something. Anyway, let's move on to the War Within. So this week's alpha build is live. There's really some pretty exciting stuff. Obviously, we've got the next zone and dungeons ready for testing, alongside some new hero talents, which are Fell Scarred for the Demon Hunters and Master of Harmony for Monks. We also get access to the Earthen, which means checking out their customizations and their racials. And that also, I think, means that the zone many of us are the most excited for, Hallowfall, will probably be next week. We also get more delves and a wave of pretty amazing looking class changes. Like, seriously, more than I expected. Athlox, rejoice, Siphon Life is finally dead. Fire Mages are also getting what looks to be a pretty amazing series of buffs to add AoE choice, like Phoenix Flames applying multiple living bombs, and some stuff to simplify the worst parts of buff juggling, whilst Windwalker are getting some targeted fixes that look very promising, actually. Right now, the team's hard at work on in-depth hero talent and class coverage. Expect those pretty soon, almost certainly early next week. And also, with a new build, that does mean a new wave of alpha invites, so of course be sure to check your launcher. The next thing to talk about, though, is the live game, and I'm surprised how much fun I've been having in it recently. So, Season 4 launched. It unfortunately did have more than a few issues. Things like the crest vendor trading new crests for Season 4 for old ones, the time walking box giving people old gear, the Azure vaults giving people too much loot, being able to do upgrades without using aspect crests, vendors not appearing for time rifts and for dream surges. Weird stuff, but that's all been fixed. What I did not expect, though, is some of the early numbers. I mean, just going about the place, you will certainly see there is a lot of players who are drowning in obscenely strong gear. It does feel quite good, you know, when you're doing the soup, doing some hunts. There's a little bit of nostalgia. But to get some firm numbers in this, and again, I must say this surprised me. Well, the Mythic Plus participation looks to be upward of 2 million Mythic Plus runs being completed in the first week. And that is really impressive, because, there's no new content or affixes or anything like that, but there is the new dungeon system. And that actually makes it more interesting, because Mythic Plus numbers should, I think, be lower. I mean, it would stand to reason, because obviously the difficulty changes to dungeons, right? They have made it so that Mythic 0 is the equivalent of Mythic plus 10, but with no timer or affixes, meaning that, say, a Mythic plus 1 would be the equivalent of a Mythic plus 11 in the older season. And that means that anybody who's doing a Keystone dungeon is just doing the higher level stuff in the older paradigm. So, per Night Stalker, who's just one of our regulars in the community, is awesome, and absolutely, he loves data. Per his numbers that he's been collecting using Raider.io, the first week of past seasons would be having about 40% of all M+ runs being done in those lower key levels. So like, 10 and below. So that basically means is there's every reason for especially week 1 M+ numbers to look soft compared to prior seasons, but they absolutely do not. Basically, the trend of amazing Mythic Plus participation that we saw like in pretty much all of Season 3, that seems to be holding, which is pretty damn impressive. Now, for my own side, I've actually not done any Mythic Plus. What I have done, though, is Mythic 0. And I love it. I love the new Mythic 0. It's great. So we ran into a few of them, like, really undergeared, just kind of messing about, just like me and the guildies. And it was just great, because you know what? Whenever you wipe to a boss, you're not thinking, oh no, I have bricked a key, we need to go out and reset or deplete or whatever. None of that. You just go and do the dungeon. It's more fun to me. Or at the very least, it's a different type of fun. I get how you could maybe say it would go old a bit quicker or that there isn't any progression in it, but to be honest, just going, knocking out those dungeons, and actually feeling like the mechanics did matter, that you did have to pay attention to them, I just really enjoyed it. It felt like a really well-calibrated level of difficulty, and not having the Mythic Plus timer aspect of it meant that we were doing content that felt relevant, that didn't feel like a big challenge, but felt like you actually did need to pay attention. We got to do that, but also just hang out, talk shit, and have laughs. And not be in a situation where getting into hysterics means that you miss a mechanic, the group wipes, and now you've depleted a key. So I really do think I just think it's fantastic. Then the other thing is we just headed into Vault of the Incarnates, and man, I've got to say, Vault's an awesome raid, and I mean, we thought that back then. We just blasted through it in normal, and now we're going through it in heroic. Raszageth is one of my favorite bosses of all time. Raszageth, in my opinion, is a far better boss than Sarkareth or Farak. She's just a great fight. I mean, she's got it all. The abilities are visual, they're tangible, her voice act, just everything. It just comes together. So even though, yes, obviously this is sort of repeated content, I've just enjoyed going into it. And the reason why is because it's scaled up. That does mean it's all, relevant difficulty. I'm making progress pretty damn fast. I'm playing on a different character, a different spec, which changes up the gameplay experience, and it's all just working for me. Because really what I just want to do is hang out with people, play some WoW, and that is absolutely scratching that itch. So do I think it would last for as long as a full season would normally? No, because these are not new fights. I still remember them all. But it is fun, and I'm glad that it exists at the very least, even though it cooking a bit harder would absolutely have been welcome. But again, I'm willing to let that slide, because at the same time that we made a Google Doc to put our raid roster together for Season 4, we had another doc which was for our raid roster for Mop Remix, which we'll be doing in a few weeks. So honestly, between all of that, just the natural fun of keeping up with Alpha, Mop Remix, Darkheart dropping with its story, I'm just having a really good time with the game right now. And I feel like I'm getting a really solid value for money with my subscription. So that's basically what's going on. Of course, Alpha will be sure to surface more things. We've got so many videos coming up for you. It's going to be awesome. So stay tuned, enjoy. It's a fun time. My God, compare right now to like 2.5 years ago during the Shadowlands. It is night and day. And honestly, even just personally, selfishly, my job is so much more personally fun and satisfying now. Just like making content for you guys I enjoy it so much more now that, like, honestly, we're in good times and just that natural passion is there. So yeah, it's good stuff. Let me know what you think about all of this. As for my next steps, I shall be testing Delves, because especially in light of some interviews that have came out, Delves, actually, I'm feeling pretty good about them, and there's some new ones to check out over in the alpha. So I'm going to do that. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you again soon.